The year was 1996. Back then, we were cloning sheep. The Dallas Cowboys were actually good. And besides the Macarena, another musical sensation was sweeping the nation. Ska music.
Holy smoke, he's a tune!
Thanks to the band Rancid with their song Time Bomb, and no doubt, third wave ska began seeing a big growth in popularity. More kids were wearing leisure suits or Hawaiian shirts. There was black and white tile everywhere, and everybody was skanking.
Ska defines who I am as a person, and I will never turn my back on ska.
Back then, people would ask, what's the best ska album of the year? Well, 3 decades later, we will finally have that answer. This year, I have chosen 16 of the best third wave ska albums of 1996 and put them into a March Madness bracket to determine the best record from 30 years ago. To help out, I have underground musician Nick Costa, host of the Punklotto podcast Justin Hensley, and Chris from the band Catbite to help with each matchup. Each one of us will pick which album we think is the best out of each battle. Best out of 3 wins. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's start with round 1. We have the Slackers with their album Better Late Than Never versus Hepcat and their album Scientific. And I call this the Rocksteady Roundup. So, Nick, which one would you pick as the better album?
Man, I really, really love that Hepcat record. That one took the cake right away for me. I don't know if I'm an authority to say whether or not something is ska, but this felt a little more like traditional reggae as far as like the vocal harmonies and everything kind of worked, and just the overall vibe, especially in comparison to everything else here. I thought that was a little refreshing, but also just I like that album a little bit more than the other one.
Okay, we got one for Hepcat. Justin, what one are you going with?
Well, I am going to go with the Slackers record, actually. Looking at these two and kind of listening to them back to back, I noticed they're in like a same kind of lane. It's definitely a little bit more retro even for the 90s. To me, with Hepcat, I get a lot more of that like R&B soul, like 60s soul and R&B in there. And to me, the Slackers feel like they have a little bit more of the traditional ska vibe to it. And that is what I tend to prefer. But yeah, I went with the Slackers record just because it felt a little scrappier, a little rougher around the edges, which was kind of appealing to me.
Okay, we got a tie. Let's go to you, Chris. Which one would you pick?
All right, so as a general preface for all of this, I have to say that my own bias comes into play as far as the impact that these specific records had on me. This was, to me, the hardest, most interesting matchup because all the other records are like ska punk. These are trad, reggae, rocksteady, ska records. And I also love both of these bands immensely. Now, that being said, taking into consideration history and how it affected me, I have to go with the Slackers because this was one of those no skips, put it on and just let it play albums.
So, like everyone's saying, both albums very soulful and soothing vibes. You know, Hepcat's got that song Bobby and Joe. It's got other songs I like Lovin' Man, and I think the crowd favorite Come Out, which is off this album. And then the Slackers have some reggae songs as well. I like Runaway and You Don't Know, and I absolutely love Pedophilia.
Ooh.
Maybe I should rephrase that.
Yeah.
I love the song.
Woo! I think I need to go, guys.
We're all on the list now.
I think I like the Alex and the late great Greg Lee. His vocals on Hepcat are good, but for some reason, the Slackers album I went with because it held my attention a little bit longer because their rhythm has a slightly more upbeat vibe. That makes 3-1, so Slackers are moving ahead. All right, next up we got Skanking Pickle with the Green Album versus MU330 with their album Chumps on Parade. and I call this one Battle of the Dillweeds. Because, as you guys know, Skank and Pickle started that label, Dill Records, and also this MU330 album is on that label. So let's go over to Justin this time. Which one are you picking for this one?
Ooh, this was a tough one. I love these two bands immensely. When I thought about the actual records and when I was actually going through them again to be like, okay, what do I like a little better? It wasn't as one-sided as I thought it could be. For this one, I am going to select the Green Album by Skank and Pickle. Absolutely massive Mike Park fan. I think he is one of the coolest musician label people in punk. And Skank and Pickle was a phenomenal band. The reason why I went with that over the MU330 record is the first two MU330 records are fun and they're really good, but I'm a Dan Podhast guy, and he doesn't sing lead on every song on those first two records, including this one. I prefer the Dan stuff, so that's why I'm going with the Skank and Pickle record on this one.
I'll go next then. So totally agree with Justin. Skank and Pickle, iconic from the early 90s in that Bay Area ska punk scene. And that album's got some great songs like Gas in My Car, Cup Flipper, and the other vocalist in that group, Lynette, she does lead vocals on this song, My Hair, which I actually love. And then the other thing is that MU330 is like psychotic circus ska music with like their maniacal, chaotic sound. You got Wide Awake, you got Caught, and that song, The Punisher / Downtown, has got the most insane like ska core introduction. So the thing is that Skank and Pickle album is mostly covers. They're covering Devo and Gorilla Biscuits and Bad Brains, which I think they're really good covers. But I'm gonna go with MB330, not only for being all original songs, but I cannot get that Lost song out of my head. So let's go with you, Chris. What are you picking?
This is another difficult one. This to me is the battle of the nice guys. This is Mike Park versus Dan Podhast. So I'm gonna say Skank and Pickle, and that is again my own history bias. I knew this MU330 record, and I know a bunch of their catalog. This was one of the ones that wasn't the one I was most familiar with. However, the Green Album by Skank and Pickle had a profound influence and impact on a lot of people, myself included. So based upon that and how much it played a factor in my upbringing and development, I'm going with Skank and Pickle.
So we got 2-1. Let's see where we go with Nick, who actually is from where Skank and Pickle is from. Let's see what he goes with.
Yeah, I actually never had heard MU330 before. So this is my introduction, and I liked it a lot more than I was expecting. And I say that because I was so deeply familiar with the Green Album and Skank and Pickle in general. So it ended up being tough because I think both of them really do have their moments, but I'm going to jump on the Mike Love, or not Mike Love.
We do not love Mike Love.
No. Bro, Mike Park. And the Green Album is the Green Album, that's like, as far as ska records go, it's really one of the best.
All right, moving on to the next one in round one. Another record label matchup. The Toasters with their album Hard Band for Dead versus Spring Hill Jack with their album Static World View. And I call this the Moon Ska matchup. I guess we'll have Chris go first on this one.
Good matchup, great bands. I'm going to go with Toasters. I love Spring Hill Jack. I like this record. It's not my favorite of theirs, but Toasters, they had more of an impact on me. This record had more of an impact on me, so I'm going to go with Hard Band for Dead.
I'll go next. Totally agree with Chris. It's a tough one. Toasters album, great mixture of 50s style rock, and they blending that two-tone ska and reggae. Talk is Cheap, great song. Don't Come Running, Speak Your Mind. Love those covers of Maxwell Smart and Secret Agent Man. Spring Hill Jack has excellent musicianship with their horn section. As you guys probably know, the whole horn section went on to bigger ska bands like Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, and the My Money Boss Tones. But they find a sweet spot between traditional ska and third wave ska punk. This album also from Spring Hill Jack has no skips, as well as amazing instrumental songs. Yeah, even though the Toasters have that two-tone army song that was on a Nickelodeon show Kablam, I'm gonna have to go with Spring Hill Jack with this one. Let's go with Nick now. What do you got?
Yeah, this is another one where I had never heard of Spring Heel Jack. I was very pleasantly surprised. The Toasters are such an institution in ska music. And like, I don't know if Spring Heel Jack is an institution to ska music. Like, maybe it sounds like probably in some capacity. But I'm like such a noob as far as that goes. But I liked that album quite a bit. So I went with Spring Heel Jack.
All right, 2-1. That means it's up to you, Justin. What are you going with?
Ooh, okay. This one was an interesting one because these are the two records I was probably the least familiar with. Looking at their catalogs, I think the Toasters are a little bit more noteworthy. You know, they start way earlier. You know, they're putting out records in New York at the same time as the two-tone thing is happening in England. And looking at Spring Heel Jack, they were always just a, like, oh, their name's in the liner notes of CDs band. Like, I didn't know anyone who was super into Spring Heel Jack. I didn't know the records that well either. So it was one that I was just like, okay, they just feel like an also ran. Like they're there too. But the connection with the other bands is probably what makes them most notable. So between these two records, just listening to them based on their, you know, merits of the music alone, I think I'm gonna go with the Toasters on this one. I think it's a tighter record. It's a little bit more traditional than what Spring Heel Jack's doing. They are bringing in that third wave element, the punky side of stuff. But yeah, I'm going with Toasters on this one.
All right, so we gotta tie it. It means I gotta go to the ska punk machine and ask it to determine which one is the best. So the machine got back to us and it chose the Toasters. Next up, we have one I call Good versus Evil. We have the Christian ska band 5 Iron Frenzy with the album Upbeats and Beatdowns versus the evil, sinister Real Big Fish in their album Turn the Radio Off. I guess I will start this off. So that opening track from 5 Iron Frenzy, The Old West, with that whole history lesson on the Native American genocide from the 1800s, I thought that was really brilliant. And the song was really upbeat, and the lyrics are technically about murderous beatdowns, so it's on brand with the album title. Another song I love, being an 80s kid, Arnold and Willis and Mr. Drummond, I'm like, that does a great job of summing up the plot of Different Strokes. And the rest of the album is really energetic and has a great ska punk groove. Plus, I think the religious lyrics aren't too overwhelming, so Scallelujah for that. On to the more ska-tanic Real Big Fish. I mean, guys, come on. They have that song Sell Out, which is like one of the biggest ska songs of that time. Got Beer on there, and She Had the Girlfriend. All the ska rhythms and horn arrangements are much more catchier and memorable, so I'm going Real Big Fish on this one. Let's kick it over to Nick. What do you got?
Yeah, it is completely news to me that 5 Iron Frenzy was a Christian band, and that is blowing my mind. I always thought that, like, sonically, the difference between these two was, like, Real Big Fish always seemed, even at their grittiest, like a little cleaner than 5 Iron Frenzy ever did, you know? Like, there's like a level of grime to 5 Iron Frenzy that I always kind of enjoyed. But that being said, if there was a Real Big Fish album that appealed to me the most, it is Turn the Radio Off. It's kind of hard to deny that, like, this is a great album, so Real Big Fish did win this one for me.
All right. Chris, let's hear what you got to say.
5 Iron is great because, yes, they are a Christian band, which is a sort of interesting idea. But the thing that I liked about them is they were not really overtly Christian. They definitely like rebelled a bit and asked some questions. And if there's like a Yay Jesus ska song, I'm out, dude. I'm going. I can't do that.
Yeah,
there's no way. So I know I'm mad respect to 5 Iron, but Turn the Radio Off is literally like the gateway record into ska. It is one of the quintessential 90s ska records.
All right, and with that, Rubik Fish advances, but let's find out what that's going to pick.
I guess this will be a futile effort, but I am going to make my argument for Five Iron Frenzy because they were my ska band. They were the band. They were my gateway. This record is just so fun. It's kind of raw. It's a little rough around the edges. The production is not the best. And that is probably the downfall compared to the Real Big Fish record, because that is like one of the most polished records. The horn section in Real Big Fish might be one of the best sounding horn sections in all of ska. It's just a phenomenal like feel that they all have. Mad respect to this record is such an important album, but to me, it was going to be Five Iron all the way. So now I guess I can be more impartial when it comes to the rest of these votes, because my number one's out, so we're good.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Justin.
All right, moving on to Les and Jake with their album Losing Streak versus Against All Authority and their album Destroy What Destroys You, which I called the Florida Ska Face-Off. I'm going to go last because this was super hard for me. So I need you guys to tell me what to think. Let's start with you, Chris. What did you pick?
I'm going to go with Les and Jake. And again, a lot of that just goes down to the records that had an impact on me. To be very honest, growing up, I wasn't a huge fan of Against All Authority. They were just one of those bands that, for whatever reason, never took a vested interest in, never really spent the time with. As far as records go, Losing Streak definitely had a bigger impact on me growing up.
Okay. What you say, Nick?
I did like Against All Authority quite a bit. But Les and Jake was like, when I was growing up and like really getting into music, they were like one of my bands. Like I had every album where like Against All Authority didn't really stand a chance against Losing Streak, especially because like that's like such a huge record, hard to top that one.
2 for Les and Jake. Justin, what are you gonna go with?
This one's tough. This one was one that I didn't have a particular affinity for either band, so I was kind of thinking like, oh well, I'm just be completely at the whims of the record. So just comparing them side by side, Les and Jake, super important band. Like they're in the top of like the biggest ska bands of the 90s and to today, And then Against Our Authority was a band that I just had scattered songs from in, college. I had some stuff on some, burn CDs. Sonically, to me, they have the more like Choking Victim, Leftover Crack, like the rough around the edges, kind of like gutter punk sort of ska feel to it. So I'm gonna vote for Against All Authority on this one, just because I liked that rougher feel to it.
Thank you for your help, guys. The Les and Jake album is what was my gateway as well back in the 90s. This particular album is super catchy with all the songs on there, Night and Pine and Sugar in a Gas Tank. Better versions of Jen Doesn't Like Me Anymore and Johnny Quest's for Sellouts than from their debut album.
Yeah, they're better versions for sure.
AAA has like this less polished sound and this raw street punk aggression mixed with like these crazy horn sections, and we're gonna have to go to the tiebreaker for this one because I am going with Against All Authority. So
wow.
Let's go to the machine again.
I thought I was gonna be the lone one on that one.
You were selling it like you were gonna land on Les the Jake, and then you didn't.
I can be easily swayed if I prefer a different sound, So, the winner is Les and Jake. This one is part 1 of what I call the self-titled matchup. We have Goldfinger with their self-titled versus Assorted Jelly Beans with their self-titled. Let's start off with Nick on this one.
Sure. I was much more familiar with Goldfinger than I was with Assorted Jelly Beans. I think that's
No shit.
Not a hot take, yeah. I don't particularly care for modern day John Feldman's production so much. I think
Same.
Yeah, but like he has made great records, and I think that when Goldfinger is a little bit more raw sounding, like they're a pretty great band. So Goldfinger was the one for me. I don't have anything necessarily against the Assorted Jelly Beans record. I think like nostalgia kind of took over. That self-titled Goldfinger record is just a delight.
Okay, Chris, what are you picking?
I'm going Goldfinger as well. Assorted Jelly Beans are one of those bands that I might have known a song or two from comps back in the day, but I can't say I've really dug into any of their material. But for that reason, and also just because the Goldfinger record being the record it is, I'm going Goldfinger.
Well, I felt Assorted Jelly Beans, they're cute. They got the raw juvenile style. They basically remind me of like a ska influenced version of old school Blink-182, but shockingly more mature than they were back then. But,
It's a low bar.
No Time, 8th Grade Nerd, and Punk Rock Jock. Some of the songs that stood out. It's cute and sloppy, but that Goldfinger album, it's got that hit. Here in Your Bedroom. It's got Mabel, that crowd favorite, and all the songs on there. So you guys are saying that about John Feldman's production, and I think as a first-time producer with this album, the sound quality he created early on in his career with the band, absolutely overshadows what Assorted Jelly Beans is doing on their debut. So I'm picking Goldfinger as well. So that's 3 votes for Goldfinger. They will be going up against Less Than Jake in the next round. But just to make sure, let's find out what Justin would have going to pick for this one.
I'm going to go unanimous on this one, too. I'm leaning towards the Goldfinger record. I think it's just a better record from front to back. The Assorted Jelly Beans was fun. To me, this record is more just pop punk, like 90s, like skate punk, pop punk kind of sounding than like a strictly ska record. There's a snottiness to it, a little brattiness to it. I just think the songwriting was a lot stronger on the Goldfinger record. So, yeah, I'm going with Goldfinger on this one. I think it sounds better from production value and just a songwriting stance.
Moving on, we have self-titled matchup part 2. Got Sublime with their self-titled versus Slightly Stupid with their self-titled. I'll go first. Not really a contest here. Slightly Stupid has a good punk rock energy, and the bass taps on the album are groovy too. But the Sublime album is more diverse. They're doing like ska, reggae, dub, blues, hip hop, punk, surf rock, etc. You got the classics, What I Got, Santeria, Wrong Way, Caress Me Down, and so on and so on. All that is mostly due to the great songwriting and guitar work of Bradley Knoll. So I guess sometimes heroin can be beneficial.
Oh my god!
I'm kidding.
All right, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go.
We'll put a PSA in here for everyone.
Kids, say no to drugs.
Sublime all the way. Let's go to you, Justin. What are you picking?
This one's pretty easy to me. This was when I saw the bracket, I was like, "Oh, it's the white boy reggae bands going up against each other."
That could have been a good title too. Yeah.
I was surprised to see that this Slightly Stupid record was a lot punkier than I thought it would be. Because what I'm more familiar with is their later stuff, which is kind of like more what Sublime was doing. I'm not really into that sound in general, but I'm going with Sublime because I don't know, it has so many massive hits on it. Like, these are songs that if you turned on alternative radio today, there's a good chance you're going to hear Santeria or one of these other songs. So, one is the imitator and one is the innovator in this situation.
Yeah. All right. What are you picking, Chris?
I'm pretty much echoing what everybody's already saying. Definitely Sublime for me. For the same, if not even more of the same reasons that I was saying about Relic Fish as far as being a gateway, this was even more of a far-reaching gateway into realms that even Relic Fish didn't go to. It bends into so many different genres and so many different areas, whether it's, punk or ska or reggae or dub or even a lot of the DJ stuff. Like, bands weren't really doing that in the same way. I only know Slightly Stupid just by their name and my preconceived notions of what I thought they were, so it was interesting listening to this a little bit more, but I feel like the bigger impact that it had on music was definitely Sublime for sure.
So, just for and giggles, as they say, Nick, what would you have picked?
Yeah, I'm glad you guys all went before me because I fear I would have dug myself into a hole I would not be able to get out of. I am not much of a Sublime fan. So, I'm also not that much of a Slightly Stupid fan either. So, my vote was more of a spite vote anyway, so I'm glad Sublime won for you guys. I picked Slightly Stupid.
Just out of spite, huh?
I mean, listen, I'm aware that album has monumental hits and kind of defines alternative music of that style for that time. But for some reason, it sounds like the audio equivalent of cargo shorts to me. No dig if you like cargo shorts. It's just not my bag.
And wrapping up round one, we have what I call the unnamed battle, because I couldn't decide what to name this one. Fishbone, Chim Chim's Badass Revenge versus Suicide Machine's Destruction by Definition. Yeah, Fishbone is probably the most underrated and influential band in these brackets. I would have to say all the groups on here were inspired by them in some way, but this is not a very good album from them.
Oh, that was way harsh.
It's got the song Beer Gut, got Rockstar, updated version of Alcoholic, but there are other tracks that are either too long or kind of mediocre, and I feel like with Suicide Machine's album, it's basically Operation IB 2.0 with its fast, energetic ska core sound, and you got the songs like SOS, No Face, and Break the Glass, plus lyrically they're tackling topics from racism to social injustice, relationships, and even mental awareness in some cases. So again, similar to the previous one we just did, no brainer. I'm going with Suicide Machines on this one. Let's go to Nick.
Yeah, it's tough. Fishbone has better albums than this one, but it is really hard to not acknowledge the influence that Fishbone has. They're truly one of the greatest ska bands to ever exist, but that Suicide Machines record is so good. It's just one of my favorite records. So yeah, it's Suicide Machines for me.
Chris, what are you picking?
I'm absolutely choosing Suicide Machines because it's destruction. I don't really need to say anything more than it's destruction. Like, it's, again, one of the best ska punk records to come out of the 90s. It has Derek Grant on drums.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. Suicide Machines were one of the first bands that I ever listened to that I was like, they're literally taking the sound of Philly hardcore, like how fast and breakneck, and it's not equal, and it's kind of jarring, and it's not supposed to be friendly sounding, perfect for Philadelphia. And then they combined it with ska, and I've never heard that before. I was like, wow, this is like if a Philly hardcore band had ska parts.
So Justin, agree with us or whatever.
Actually, I do select Destruction. I do think it is the stronger record of the two. That being said, I love Fishbone. I hated this album. I love Truth and Soul, probably one of the greatest ska records of all time. Chim Chim's it has an 8-minute song about being in the toilet. I did not like that. I was like, why is this so long? The intro was too long too. It has one of those talking intros that just like,
Yeah.
It's a metaphor.
yeah. What's the metaphor of the song Monkey? 'Cause I think this might be their worst record in their entire catalog.
And that wraps up round one. Round two now. We got the Slackers with Better Late Than Never versus the Toasters, Horror Band for Dead. I guess we will go with Justin first on this one. Which one are you going to pick?
Similar kind of head-to-head to the Slackers and Hepcat one. It's this particular brand of ska that is more indebted to the past and less of the moment. I'm going to go with the Slackers on this one too, because Hepcat and Toasters kind of do a similar-ish kind of thing, so that's kind of why, to me, the Slackers make the more traditional ska band. When I listened to that, I was like, oh, I hear lots of Scatolites. I hear lots of, even the more modern, like the Agrolites doing something like that too. And I just dig that a little bit more. So I'm going to go with the Slackers over the Toasters.
Okay, I'm going to do the same as you said with all the same reasons. As much as I love the Toaster album, what's interesting is I actually lost my virginity to a girl that was into the Slackers back in the 90s. She introduced me to this group, and you want to know what her name was?
Sarah.
It was Sarah. Yeah.
Hey!
I'm picking the Slackers as well. How about you, Nick? What are you going with?
I think in this case, I'd probably lean more towards the Toasters. There's something melodically about that Toasters record that I think I enjoy a little bit more. And I'm like a sucker for melody in general. So I think I'd go with Toasters.
Pressure's on you, Chris. What are you going with?
It's a hard one. but I have to now go into the realm of looking at the album as its own piece of art. And for that reason, I'm sorry, Bucket, we're going Slackers on this.
Nice. Did you lose your virginity to this album too?
No, if you really want to know, I lost it to the pause screen on Super Mario 3.
All right. What a song.
You'll never hear it the same after that.
Next up, we have Less Than Jake versus Goldfinger. So this is going to be a tough one, right? Justin, I see you there. You're looking away. Look back at us. Which one are you going with?
Looking at them, I think I'm a little more partial to the Goldfinger record. I think there's just, the songs are a little tighter for me. There is a reason why John Feldmann has a career as a songwriter for, other artists besides himself. So, yeah, this one wasn't too hard for me. Like, I've always appreciated Less Than Jake, but they were never one of, my bands. Goldfinger wasn't really either, but just something about the two records side by side. Yeah, I'm going Goldfinger on this one.
Chris, what are you going with?
This is an interesting one because I very much like both of these bands, but neither one of these records are my favorite records. Out of the two, I'm going to go Less Than Jake. For whatever reason, that record I listened to more, had more of a connection with. I think I definitely saw Less Than Jake many more times than I saw Goldfinger growing up, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, Less Than Jake.
Going on to Nick. Which one are you going with?
Yeah, it's Less Than Jake for me. It's not even really that tough. I like Goldfinger, but I love Less Than Jake. Like, that's such a special place in my heart. And kind of like Chris said, I don't think it's Less Than Jake's best record, but yeah. I do think that it's an iconic one for them. It was a pretty easy one in those two.
Wow, I thought that would be tougher to pick, guys. Goldfinger album was the first one I heard with that single, and then when that first song comes on Mind's Eye, I really love the way they produced the snare drum of the album.
Yeah.
And at the same time with the Less Than Jake album, I remember hearing that at Tower Records. So this was tough for me. I guess I will go with Less Than Jake just for the musicianship because they have, more members, so they can produce a lot more diverse sound because there's more ska on that than the Goldfinger one.
That's true.
Going to the next one. Real Big Fish versus Sublime.
Yeah, this is pretty easy for me. I'm going Real Big Fish on this one. Even though they knocked my beloved Five Iron Frenzy out, I just can't move Sublime.
Wait, you don't like Sublime either?
Just compared to Slightly Stupid, I chose Sublime over it because they are just, I think, a better band, but they're not better than Real Big Fish.
One for Real Big Fish. What are you going with, Nick?
Oh, gosh, it's a tough one. I'm going to pick Real Big Fish as well.
That's why I want to get you out of the way, yeah.
Yeah, let's just end next.
All right, I'll go next. Bradley Noel is a really good lyricist compared to Aaron Bear, guys. You're not even considering that?
Oh, I've considered it.
Okay. I'm also going to go over Real Big Fish, too. Thank you for swaying me. Chris, what were you going to go with?
Real Big Fish, yeah.
Why were you going to pick that?
Because, with bracketology like this, I feel like the name of the contest or is really important. So this is 1996 Ska Albums.
Now you're talking semantics.
Real Big Fish is a ska record through and through. Sublime has a few ska songs scattered around that record. So, on the quantifier of ska records, Real Big Fish would just win anyway. But anyway, yeah.
All right, and wrapping up round two, we have Skanking Pickle versus the Suicide Machines. I'm going to go with the Suicide Machine because goddamn, that record is just phenomenal. That's one of the ones that I would say is a contender for, hey, if you've never heard ska punk before, if you haven't heard Operation Ivy, get on that. But if it's not available, this will suffice. Suicide Machines all the way. How about you, Justin?
I'm going Skanking Pickle on this one. A lot of what we said earlier about them being one of the best ska bands ever. I just love that band. And that record is so fun by the Suicide Machines. That is probably their best record, personally. What I think. It's super fun. I had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. New Girl was on there. I mean,
That's right.
But I never really went too far with them. I've heard a few other albums from them, but I've heard everything from Skanking Pickle. And I don't love ska punk, Rasta punk, but other than that, the rest of their albums I absolutely adore. So, yeah, Skanking Pickle for me.
Chris? What do you got?
Suicide Machines. It's destruction after all.
Not much to say with that. And finally, Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, it's Suicide Machines. Yeah, I just love that record. It's just so good.
All right, and with that, we got our final four. Starting off with Real Big Fish versus the Slackers. Let's start with you, Nick.
I would go with Real Big Fish. I enjoy the production on the Real Big Fish record a lot more than the Slackers one. And also, the Slackers didn't make it past round 1 on my bracket, and they're really far now, so I'm gonna go with Real Big Fish.
How can I take them down?
They gotta be taken down a peg.
Okay. I think for ska and like for funness and all, I'm gonna also pick the Real Big Fish album. One is way more satanic than the other, so I'll go with
That's true.
Justin, you seem like you got something to say, so let's go with you next.
Yeah, I'll go with Real Big Fish on this one. It's a little more fun, a little more high energy for me. The production is great, and Sellout's on there. Sellout was a huge hit, so yeah, I'm going with that one. That's a pretty easy choice for me.
Even though we already have a winner going to the championship, let's know what Chris was going to say.
I'm also going to go with Real Big Fish just on the strength that we're talking about Turn the Radio Off, and I love the Slackers. They're one of my favorite bands ever. But yeah.
The next one, we have Suicide Machines versus Less Than Jake. Let's go to you, Justin. What will you pick for that?
I'll go Suicide Machines on this one. I think it's just a really fun record. I've also been voting against Less Than Jake, I think, in every round, so I'm very much like Nick with the Slackers. So, but no, I just love this record. It's such a fun album. It's a mix of melodic hardcore, skate punk with third wave ska, and it's a fun little mix that didn't become the dominant sound too, and maybe it should have, but very fun. I love the Suicide Machines record.
What you say, Chris?
Suicide Machines Destruction is just a masterpiece record to me front to back, and it's hard pressed in this lineup or any other lineup, I feel like, to beat it, so I'm going Suicide.
And add some tension. What are you gonna pick, Nick?
This is probably the toughest matchup of the whole bracket for me. I have maybe 3 CDs that I still have from high school. One of them is the burned version of Losing Streak that I downloaded off Kazaa, and the other one is the Suicide Machines Destruction by Definition that I stole from my friend Ben. If Ben's listening to this, sorry, I still have it. But I think that just for me personally, and for what they did for me as a kid growing up to be a fan of music, like a music nerd, and love going to concerts, and I saw them a million times, I'd probably have to go Less Than Jake over Suicide Machines.
Put it all on me now.
Yeah, that's right. It's your show.
What will I pick? On the one hand, both albums I heard in the illustrious year 1997, but goddamn, that Destruction by Definition is just so amazing, lyrically. Musically as well. There's only 4 of them, but they are producing some of the greatest sound and thought-provoking lyrics ever. We're outnumbered on this one, Nick. Definitely gonna have to go with the Suicide Machines going with that championship round.
That was my number one. That was my one that took it all.
You got a lot further than I did.
Guys, we are here. We are down the championship round. What is the best ska punk album of 1996? We're gonna find out right now in the matchup of Real Big Fish with their album Turn the Radio Off versus the Suicide Machines with Destruction by Definition. Both are apparently iconic on both sides, but one can only be the winner. Let's start with Nick.
I'm not the biggest Real Big Fish fan in general. I think that this is the record of theirs that I like the most. And I like basketball a lot. So that makes him a good contender. However, I think that Suicide Machines has an infinitely better record here. That record is just perfect. It's kind of hard to top that.
Yeah, they have the cover of I Don't Want to Hear It, but you do want to hear it.
I do want to hear it. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Moving on to Justin. Which one are you going, Real Big Fish or Suicide Machines?
Interesting head to head. I guess one of these I would feel like if you saw the brackets, you could have guessed where we were going to wind up. I think people would have guessed we would have got to Real Big Fish in the finals. For me personally, just based on what I like, I'm going with the Suicide Machines. I think the record's just really, really fun. It's super high energy. It's different from a lot of the records that we're talking about on here too. I just have a lot of fun for it. No disrespect to Real Big Fish, that's a great record. Massive songs on there too. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Suicide Machines.
Chris, which one are you going with?
So this was honestly my ideal final. This is exactly the two that I wanted to end up in the final. I love both of these records very, very much, and both of them definitely influenced my playing and my discovery upon this thing that we call ska music. But the one that I wanted to see win already has 2 votes, so Suicide Machine is going to win this. That was my number one the whole time. Oh yeah, I'm going to.
We have solved the case, everybody. Destruction by Definition was the best ska album 30 years ago, which is the one I was going to pick as well. Tell us what you think of our matchup. Would you like us to do a ska albums from 1997 next year? Because that's really when the ska boom took off. So like and comment below, and skanks for watching.
Like and subscribe, folks.